I want you to take a moment and think about the last time someone asked you, "How are you?" Think about the split second that happened before you answered. In that fraction of a second, your brain ran a calculation. You scanned your internal state. Maybe you were tired. Maybe you were anxious about money. Maybe you were grieving a loss that happened 3 years ago, but still feels like it happened this morning. You felt the weight of your actual reality. And then you pushed it all down. You smiled. And you said the two words that have become the biggest lie in the modern world. I'm good. We are raised on a steady, unrelenting diet of optimism. From the moment we are old enough to understand language, we are taught that happiness is the default setting of a successful human being. We are taught that a frown is a failure. We are taught that sadness is a malfunction in the machine. We are taught that a smile is the only acceptable social currency, the price of admission to the human race. We look at the smiling emoji on our phones, that bright yellow circle of performative joy, and we think that is the goal. We think that is what normal looks like. But I want to challenge you today. That smiling face isn't always your friend. Sometimes it is a mask for something much darker. Sometimes the pressure to maintain that smile is the very thing that is breaking you. What if I told you that the pursuit of relentless positivity isn't just misguided, but actively harmful? What if the good vibes only sticker on your laptop, or the constant stream of "just look on the bright side" advice you receive isn't a mantra for health, but a recipe for profound psychological distress? We are going to expose the hidden toxicity behind the "always be positive" mantra. We are going to reveal how it gaslights our own biology, how it invalidates our deepest and most important experiences, and how it contributes to the architecture of alienation that so many of us feel, but are too afraid to name. If you have ever felt guilty for being sad, if you have ever felt lonely in a crowded room because you were performing happiness while dying inside, this conversation is for you. We're going to talk about the pressure cooker of perpetual positivity. We're going to talk about why you feel exhausted, not because you are doing too much physically, but because you are doing too much emotionally. You are carrying the weight of a performance that never ends. You are vibrating at the frequency of truth in a world that demands the frequency of comfort, and that mismatch is tearing you apart. So, prepare to challenge your assumptions about what truly makes us happy, because the answer might just be the very thing you've been running from. To understand why we are so exhausted, we have to look at the context of our modern lives. We have to look at the architecture of the world we have built. We live in a society that treats emotions like a productivity metric. In the corporate world, in the social sphere, and even in our families, emotional output is monitored. Optimism is equated with competence. If you aren't happy, you aren't just feeling bad. You are doing life wrong. You are seen as a liability. Consider the evolutionary roots of this. Thousands of years ago, if you were the anxious one, the one crying in the corner, you might have been seen as a burden to the tribe during a hunt. We have a deep, primal fear of rejection. We fear that if we show our darkness, the tribe will leave us behind. But today, the tribe isn't 50 people in a cave. The tribe is a digital audience of millions. The tribe is the highlight reel. We are living in the age of industrialized comparison. When you scroll through your phone, you aren't seeing reality. You are seeing the top 1% of everyone else's lives, curated, filtered, color-corrected, and set to upbeat music. You see the engagement rings. You see the promotions. You see the acai bowls on the beach in Bali. This creates a subtle, invisible, but crushing pressure. It creates a subconscious logic that says, normal equals happy. Therefore, if I am struggling, if I am grieving, if I am confused, I am abnormal. This is the initial impact. It creates a split in our psyche. It forces us to bifurcate ourselves into two people. There is the public self, the one who is agreeable, the one who says I'm good, the one who posts a selfie. And then there is the private self, the one who is complex, the one who questions, the one who feels. The distance between these two selves is where the pain lives. That distance is where the exhaustion comes from. You are spending an enormous amount of caloric energy every single day just trying to bridge the gap between who you are and who you are pretending to be. It's like holding a beach ball underwater. You can do it for a minute. You can do it for an hour. But try doing it for a decade. Eventually, your arms get tired. Eventually, the ball shoots up. And when it does, it usually hits you in the face. We call this burnout. We call it anxiety. But really, it is masking fatigue. It is the sheer exhaustion of acting in a play that never has an intermission. Let's zoom in. Let's take this from the abstract to the specific. I want to paint a picture for you of a scene that plays out in millions of lives. I want you to visualize a character. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah is a deep thinker. She is someone who feels things intensely. She is sitting at a large mahogany table. It's a dinner party. The lighting is warm, food is expensive, and the atmosphere is polite. Rigidly polite. Sarah watches the familiar theater unfold before her. The conversation flows like a carefully choreographed dance. Everyone knows the steps. Everyone knows their lines. Topic 1, the weather. Can you believe this rain? Topic 2, upcoming vacations. We're thinking of Italy this year. Topic 3, the latest streaming series everyone is binge-watching. Laughter erupts at predetermined moments. Heads nod in synchronized approval. The comfortable rhythm of small talk fills the air like elevator music. It is safe. It is predictable. It is socially acceptable. But Sarah hears something else. Sarah possesses what Dr. Judith Orloff calls an emotional sponge nature. She has an invisible antenna, a sensitivity that picks up on the frequencies others ignore. While the group is laughing, Sarah is reading the subtext. She hears the tremor in her friend Michael's voice when he mentions his recent promotion. The group says, "Congratulations. That's amazing." But Sarah hears the frequency of terror. She hears the imposter syndrome. She sees the way he grips the stem of his wine glass a little too tightly, his knuckles turning white. She knows he is terrified he's going to fail. She notices how Jennifer's eyes dart away when someone asks about her marriage. Jennifer smiles, a bright, wide, practiced smile. But Sarah sees the corners of her mouth tighten just slightly. It's a micro-expression of grief. It's a silent scream. Sarah feels the weight of the silence that sits beneath the noise. She is sitting in a room full of bodies, yet she is observing a room full of ghosts. People hiding their true selves behind the performance of doing well. This is the conflict. This is the moment of choice. Sarah sees the truth. She sees the pain, the fear, the humanity. But the social contract of the mahogany table demands she ignore it. The unspoken rule of the dinner party is, do not disturb the peace. If she points it out, if she stops the dance and asks, "Michael, are you actually okay? You sound terrified," she breaks the spell. She becomes the problem. She becomes the downer. She ruins the good vibes. She creates discomfort. So what does she do? She engages in the performance of happiness. She betrays her own intuition. She smiles. She nods. She laughs at the joke she didn't find funny. She suppresses the urge to reach out and touch Michael's arm and say, "I see you." The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre called this bad faith. It is the act of lying to oneself to avoid the anxiety of authentic existence. But for Sarah, and for you, this isn't just a philosophical concept. It is a physiological tax. You are telling your brain, over and over again, my reality does not matter. My perception is dangerous. I must hide to be loved. And so, the deep thinker often feels like they are living a double life, authentic in the quiet of their own bedroom, but purely performative in the public square. The tragedy is that this masking often backfires. While it helps you avoid immediate rejection or awkwardness at the dinner party, it prevents you from forming the deep connections you actually crave. You end up surrounded by people, yet completely invisible. You are known for your smile, but unknown for your soul. And that is a very specific, very heavy kind of loneliness. It is the loneliness of being seen, but not known. So why do we do it? Why are we so terrified of breaking the spell? Because when we do try to break it, when we try to express vulnerability, we often enter what I call the invalidating echo chamber. We have all been there. You are going through something real. A breakup, a job loss, a bout of depression that has no clear cause. You decide to take a risk. You decide to drop the mask for a moment. You tell a friend, "Hey, I'm actually hurting right now. I feel lost." And what do you get back? You get the weaponization of positivity. Just be positive. Everything happens for a reason. Good vibes only. At least you have your health. It could be worse. Don't worry, be happy. We've all heard these phrases. They seem harmless. They seem helpful. They are printed on coffee mugs and t-shirts. But let's look at what they actually do to the human psyche. This isn't comfort. This is gaslighting. When someone responds to your genuine distress with a platitude, they are not helping you. They are protecting themselves. They are effectively saying, "Your pain is making me uncomfortable. Please hide it so I can feel better." This is the cruelty of toxic positivity. It takes a person who is already suffering, a victim of circumstance, loss, or brain chemistry, and turns them into the perpetrator of their own pain. It tells you that your suffering is a failure of mindset. It implies that if you just tried harder to be happy, you wouldn't be sad. It implies that your pain is a choice. Let's look at the logic of this. Let's look at the cycle that happens in your brain when you are subjected to this. I call it the but, therefore loop. Step 1, you feel sad. That is the context. That is the reality. Step 2, but society tells you sadness is bad. That is the conflict. Step 3, therefore you suppress the sadness to fit in. That is the action. Step 4, but the sadness doesn't go away, it festers. That is the new conflict. Step 5, therefore you feel guilty about being sad. You add shame to sadness. Do you see the loop? You are now feeling bad about feeling bad. It is a meta-emotion that spirals downward. You are fighting a war against your own internal weather system because someone told you it should always be sunny. The psychologist Dr. Karen Hall writes about the concept of emotional labor. This is the invisible work of managing emotions, both your own and others. In an invalidating echo chamber, the burden of this labor falls entirely on the person who is suffering. Think about how twisted that is. You are the one in pain, but you have to manage your grief and manage the discomfort of the people around you who don't want to see your grief. You have to comfort the people who are supposed to be comforting you. By pretending you are okay, you are drowning, and society is standing on the dock, throwing you a book titled, How to Swim with a Smile, instead of a life raft. It is exhausting, it is isolating, and it is making us sick. Let's go deeper into the psychology of this. Why does this hit some of us harder than others? Why can some people seemingly float through the good vibes culture while others feel crushed by it? I want to introduce you to the concept of frequency. Have you ever noticed how some people operate on an entirely different wavelength? They speak a language that sounds like yours, but you can't quite grasp the meaning. They get excited about things that seem trivial to you, like the weather or a celebrity scandal, and they remain unmoved by experiences that touch your soul, like a piece of music or a tragic news story. This creates what we call the frequency problem. Deep thinkers, highly sensitive people, and empaths vibrate at the frequency of truth. Much of society, however, operates at the frequency of comfort. Truth is often uncomfortable. It is inconvenient. It disrupts the dinner party. It asks us to look at things we'd rather ignore: mortality, inequality, the fleeting nature of love, the struggle of existence. Comfort, on the other hand, prefers the illusion. It prefers the shadow on the wall to the reality outside the cave. It prefers the good vibes only sticker because it requires less processing power. It is easier. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who stared deeply into the human condition, wrote about the free spirit, the individual who breaks the chains of conventional thinking. But he also understood the price of that freedom. The free spirit often wanders in a wilderness of their own making. When you step out of the collective delusion of constant happiness, you step into a very lonely place. If you are a deep thinker, you likely have what psychologists call a high need for cognition and a high capacity for empathy. You don't just observe the room, you absorb it. You feel the tension in your partner's shoulders before they even speak. You feel the collective anxiety of the world news. And because you feel it so deeply, you cannot just turn it off. You cannot just look on the bright side, because your eyes are wide open to the shadows. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, understood that humans can endure almost any suffering if they can find meaning in it. Meaning is the fuel of survival. But here's the kicker. Modern society creates a meaningless happiness. We are told to chase dopamine, likes, purchases, status, rather than meaning. We are told to chase the high, not the depth. So the deep thinker feels a profound sense of irrelevance. Your need for depth is seen as a liability. Your questions are seen as overthinking. Your sensitivity is labeled as weakness. Your desire to talk about something real is labeled as being negative. This leads to what the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer called the hedgehog's dilemma. Imagine a group of hedgehogs in the dead of winter. They are freezing. To survive, they need to huddle together to share their body heat. This represents our human need for connection. But when they get too close, their spines prick each other. The spines represent our traumas, our pain, our sharp edges, our negative emotions. The pain forces them apart, but then the cold forces them back together. In a good vibes only world, we are told to remove our spines. We are told to pretend we are soft, smooth creatures. We are told to shave off the parts of us that might prick someone else. Our sadness, our anger, our fear. But we aren't soft creatures. We have edges. We have sharp points. By refusing to acknowledge the spines, by pretending they aren't there, we bleed to death while hugging. We get close, we get hurt, and because we aren't allowed to say ouch, we just suffer in silence. True intimacy isn't about pretending you don't have spines. It's about learning how to navigate them together. It's about finding the distance where you can feel the warmth without inflicting the wound. But you can't do that if you deny the wound exists. So what is the cost? What happens when we live like this for years? What happens when we deny our internal reality to maintain external good vibes? We experience the detrimental ripple effect. This affects more than just your internal state. It destroys the very fabric of your relationships and your health. First, let's look at relationships. Forced positivity kills true connection. You cannot connect authentically with someone if you are presenting a curated, sanitized version of yourself. Vulnerability is the glue of relationships. It is the adhesive that binds two people together. If I only show you my wins, and you only show me your wins, we are not friends. We are just two PR agencies exchanging press releases. We are trading resumes, not souls. Real connection, the kind that actually heals loneliness, requires the dark stuff. It requires saying, "I am terrified," and hearing someone say, "Me too." It requires admitting failure. It requires the ability to sit in silence without rushing, to fill it with positive chatter. The irony is devastating. The very people who need support the most, the deep thinkers carrying the weight of the world, often become the strong ones for everyone else. They become the therapists for their friends, the listeners, the shoulders to cry on. But because they have learned that their own depth is too much, they never ask for that support in return. They starve while feeding everyone else. Second, let's look at delayed healing. Emotions are not like unwanted mail. You cannot just throw them away. Emotions are like water. If you dam them up with forced positivity, they don't disappear. They build pressure. Carl Jung, the pioneer of depth psychology, spoke about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny. He warned that the more we suppress the shadow, the denser and more dangerous it becomes. When you suppress grief, it doesn't leave. It calcifies into depression. When you suppress anger, it mutates into cynicism or physical illness. When you suppress fear, it evolves into chronic anxiety. We are seeing a mental health crisis today that correlates perfectly with the rise of performative positivity. We are smiling our way into a breakdown. Your body keeps the score. The mask you wear is heavy, and eventually, your neck will break under the weight of it. So how do we escape? How do we dismantle the pressure cooker? How do we stop the exhausting dance at the mahogany table? We must commit a revolutionary act. We must embrace the full emotional spectrum. We need to move from suppression to integration. This starts with a concept in psychology called radical acceptance. Now, be careful with this term. It does not mean you like the pain. It does not mean you enjoy the sadness or wallow in it. It simply means you stop fighting the reality of it. It means acknowledging that the storm is happening, rather than standing in the rain, shouting that it's sunny. If you are sad, let yourself be sad. Do not layer guilt about being sad on top of the sadness. Do not layer anxiety about not being positive enough on top of the fear. Strip away the meta-emotions and just sit with the raw data. I am sad. I am angry. I am lonely. These are not failures. These are information. They are signals from your body telling you something about your environment or your needs. The deep thinker has a responsibility here. Plato's allegory of the cave teaches us that the one who breaks free and sees reality has a duty. But in this case, the duty isn't to force others to see the darkness. The duty is to simply be the darkness when necessary, to witness it. You must learn the alchemy of solitude. You must learn to distinguish between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the glory of being alone. In solitude, away from mahogany table, away from the performative smiles, you can finally breathe. You can unmask. You can process the input of the world. You can let your nervous system regulate. You can find out who you are when nobody is watching. And here's a practical, tactical way to handle this in the real world. You don't have to trauma dump on everyone you meet. You don't have to tell the cashier about your childhood wounds. But you can practice safe vulnerability. Next time someone asks, "How are you?" and you aren't doing well, try this. Instead of the automatic "I'm good," try saying, "Honestly, it's been a heavy week, but I'm hanging in there." Or, "I'm a little tired, to be honest." Watch what happens. 9 times out of 10, you will see a physical reaction in the other person. Their shoulders will drop. They will exhale. Their eyes will soften. Why? Because you just gave them permission to drop their mask too. You just created a moment of truth in a world of illusion. You signaled to them that you are safe. that you are real, and that you are not demanding a performance from them. Your sensitivity is your superpower. Your ability to sit with the darkness is exactly what allows you to appreciate the light. You cannot have the peaks without the valleys. A flat line is not stability. A flat line is dead. Life is the wave. We need to redefine happiness. Happiness is not the absence of negative emotion. Happiness is the ability to navigate the full range of human experience without getting lost. It is the peace that comes from integration, not suppression. The world needs deep thinkers now more than ever. In an age of artificial intelligence and artificial feelings, we need human voices that can hold complexity. We need people who are willing to feel the things that the algorithm wants to filter out. So here's my challenge to you for this week. The next time you feel the pressure to perform happiness, don't. The next time you want to apologize for your intensity, don't. The next time you feel the urge to tell someone good vibes only, stop and just listen instead. Be the person who stays on the frequency of truth, even when the room demands the frequency of comfort. You might make some people uncomfortable. You might lose some friends who only like the mask. You might feel exposed, but you will find something much more valuable. You will find your people. You will find the others who are tired of the dance. You will find the others who are waiting for someone to be real, so they can be real too. And speaking of finding your people, I know how isolating this journey can be. I know what it feels like to be the only one at the table, not laughing at the joke, feeling like an alien in your own life. That is why I created this channel. I wanted to build a sanctuary for the deep thinkers, the truth tellers, and the ones who are done performing. We explore these concepts every single week, diving into philosophy, psychology, and the art of living authentically. If you are tired of the surface level noise and you want to join a conversation that actually matters, I invite you to subscribe and turn on notifications. But more than that, I invite you to share your story in the comments. Tell us about a time you felt the pressure to perform. Tell us about a time you dropped the mask. Let's turn the comments section into the opposite of the mahogany table, a place where truth is the only currency accepted. Let's stop dancing. Let's start living. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being real.